I don't know what each of your souls are here for, but what I will tell you is that you have got to be a pretty old soul to be doing this work. I really believe this is like healing for humanity. You're healing for your children. What you're doing here is not only for our sanity, but it truly is for the future of humanity. My name is Deb Blum, and this is the Whole Soul Way. It's my signature program that I've been teaching for the past 4 years, and I decided to offer the foundation lessons, exercises, and tools for free on YouTube and all of the major podcast channels, because I truly believe that the world needs more of us, healed, whole, authentic, and awake. And you know what? I don't want to be a barrier to anyone getting the help that they need. And in fact, I really want to be part of the change. Each lesson builds on the last. So if this is your first time here, make sure that you start at the beginning. This is your invitation. Show up, do the work, and join the movement of souls who are committed to creating a better world, one inner transformation at a time. Let's dive in. You have made it to step 3 along the journey where we're going to step in as our inner adult, our inner parent, and we are going to cultivate inner safety and strength. Most of us, if we don't think about it very much, we're looking outside of us for other people to make us feel safe. And I want to be really clear on something, that everything I'm saying right now assumes that you're at a base level of safety. You are living in some type of situation where you're not being abused, where you have your basic needs met. You're not in some type of very threatened situation. So let's go that that's where you are. And then I would say this, that it is upon us to cultivate safety from within. That's what it is like to be an adult. We have to step in and be an adult in our lives. And let me tell you why it is that most of us don't feel a sense of safety. It's because at some level, we are almost always acting from our inner child parts. So you might be acting from your inner adult part. And then all of a sudden, much to your surprise, your inner child part or your inner protector part steps up and takes over. And they start driving the bus. And what I want you to do is to feel a sense of empowerment, to recognize that you have these 3 primary categories of parts inside of you, and those all have multiple parts inside of them because we are multifaceted human beings, but that you have these 3 primary categories of the protector, which is one that's trying to keep you safe and is using coping strategies and defense mechanisms and masks and armor, and the inner child who's being protected, who's got a lot to say, and she has a lot of feelings, and she wants to be heard and seen and understood, and she has playful parts, and she has sad parts and scared parts and hurt parts and fun parts and passionate parts. And then we have our adult, who is the one that's able to hold it all and who says, hey, I'm here, I hear both of you, and I also have this wise insight on things, and I see the long-term consequences of our behaviors, and I can take care of all of us. And then I want to just invite us to also know that there's this bigger us that we are swimming in, which is our soul. And our soul is really the guiding force of all of this. It's our soul who's inviting us on this journey and has us committed to it, because our soul knows that we want to evolve and expand and grow and deepen our experience with ourselves and others. And so today, what we're talking about is rising up into our inner adult, AKA inner parent. As a child, what you and I most needed was to feel safe, secure, and loved, and that we could rest in the love of our parents and the safety of our parents. And many of us didn't get that. And even if we did get it, in some ways, we may not have gotten it in the ways that we most needed, or we didn't get it consistently. And some of us got nothing. And some of us feel like we got a real lot, but we still are lacking. Okay. So of course you were dependent on that when you were little. That's what you were looking for. Most of us grew up and now we're looking around to other people and we're wishing those people would do these things for us, right? They're like, would you be my mommy? Would you take care of me? Will you help me? Right? We're kind of looking around to outside people to fulfill our unmet emotional needs. And when they don't, we feel disappointed, unsafe, and insecure. And that is because we are looking externally. And as you know, in the Whole Soul Way, we guide ourselves back to ourselves. And so we have to claim that we have this inner adult part, this inner parent, and that parent is there to make our inner child and protector parts feel safer, to feel secure, to know that somebody's in charge, that they can rest in our love. And that is what we're doing now. That's what we're starting to do right now. That's what we're diving into now, is how can we do that? I use a metaphor of the mountain, which is that we are our own mountain, and we are moving our way up the mountain. We are exploring our whole mountain. We are standing in the strength of our mountain. When we rise up to the top of our mountain, or even just further up our mountain, we get to see things from a higher vantage point. We see more possibilities. We see the potential. We find more solutions to our problems. We're looking from a higher vantage point, which isn't just a higher vantage point that we obviously all understand that a mountain would provide us, but it's also standing in our power. It's claiming self-leadership. And that's what this whole module is about: stepping in as the leader of your life, standing in your power, knowing that you can take care of your inner child parts and your protector parts. You can hold it all. And also that you are on a constant journey to explore your mountain, on your search and rescue mission, to reclaim all parts of yourself, to come into greater wholeness. So this is our chance to really claim the position of the inner parent. You can call it inner parent, inner adult, and it all translates into self-leadership, and you providing to you everything that you needed as a child that you didn't get. You stepping in and picking up where your parents left off and providing to yourself any unmet needs, anything that you're waiting for someone else to provide. I remember that I was in a program one time with Margaret Paul, who has the program and a book on inner bonding, which is really very similar to this work. And she talked about how we have this inner child, right? And we usually take our inner child and we hold them in our hands and we put them out in front of us. And we're basically like, will you take care of my baby? Will you take care of my baby? Will you love my baby? But the person who has to love your baby is you. You're the one that has to love your baby. You're the one that has to come in and hold your baby. So in this step, we're stepping in as our inner adult, and that is going to start to set the container for truly feeling safer. Now, you've already been parenting yourself through all of your connection to your inner protector, through all of your self-exploration. Everything you've been doing so far has been a form of parenting yourself. You've already been stepping in as your inner parent and your inner adult. You're just doing it more in an intentional way right now in this step so that you can really understand what it's like to step in as the leader of yourself. So I look forward to hearing what your thoughts are on this. Of course, remember to engage and share your wins with us. And I invite you to get started right now. We talked last time about the problem. Things happened in our life that were too much for us to handle. And so we compartmentalized our pain and internalized messages from other people. We processed the world in our own little powerless ways. And that created holes in us. And some people might even call them blockages, ways that we have stuff in us that makes it so that we can't just see clearly and be present with people. We're caught up in our own past stuff, like our disowned, rejected, and abandoned parts, feelings, experiences, anything that we avoid, we resist, and we suppress that's painful. But now the thing that's happened for all of us is that it got too painful to suppress it. It's kind of like one of those things, like at the time, it was like, this feels a lot better. Let's never look at that stuff. But then after a while, it builds up that now we're suffering all the time. So we're going back and we're trying to find all those holes, right? So what happens is we start to feel the sense of inner disconnect and lack of safety and emptiness, and we're longing for something else. And so the solution is that now that we have more power and we have enough safety, our basic needs are met. We're not little children anymore. We step in as our inner adult and we reclaim all those parts and become more whole and fully alive and integrated and internally safe. So we have the power to choose and to be in control of ourselves. That doesn't mean that you always feel like you are in control and have the power to change and all of that. That doesn't mean you always feel that way, but it's the acknowledgement and recognition that you're no longer a little girl, that you actually are an adult, and that you are no longer that powerless little creature that we were when we were little, we actually do have power. And so it's a reclamation process. So just a little refresher on what we're doing here is that we're here growing ourselves up to be the emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually mature and whole women that we're here to become who we are meant to be or who we were put here to live fully and in alignment with our soul's fullest expression, to live in love to our potential. And I've lived by Rumi's quote, which is that we are really seeking to remove the barriers to love. It's not really that we're seeking love so much. It's like, how do we move the barriers to love? So we are removing those barriers by unhooking from fear, conditioning, programming, and pressure to be someone that we're not, or to do anything that's not aligned with our truth. The truth is something you know more moment to moment than there's some universal, your truth. It's what is my truth in this moment, and am I aligned to it, or am I abandoning myself? That's usually what the question is. And we come into wholeness by integrating all of these parts of ourselves so that we can bravely show up and be living our full selves, boldly shining our light bright into the world. So I look at this as that we're returning home to ourselves, where we come into greater flow and ease with our soul as our true guide. And the most important thing that I think that differentiates this program from other programs is that I'm helping you to learn how to read the cues that life is always showing us, and to take those cues and to learn the Soul Way GPS. And that is next. I was having this moment of gratitude this morning for all of us who have been called to do this work. Because I don't know if you guys think about it very much, but you're being called to do something that, at the risk of sounding somehow arrogant, but you're really awakening. You're awakening. You're evolving. You are the leading edge of the human experience, right? I don't know how much you guys believe about this, but our souls are here to evolve. And we evolve through many, many lifetimes in theory, right? Your soul is here to evolve and it has a purpose. So I work with this shaman because he helps me to understand my soul and my soul's purpose. And my soul's purpose is acceptance. Acceptance of myself and acceptance of others. And that's what I teach, is acceptance. I don't know what each of your souls are here for, but what I will tell you is that you have got to be a pretty old soul to be doing this work. I really believe this is like healing for humanity. You're healing for your children. What you're doing here is not only for our sanity, but it truly is for the future of humanity. It's beautiful work. And I just wanted to take a moment and have gratitude for all of you for bravely doing this, because you could just go into your shell. You could just live like most people are living right now. If you fought against this, you could shut yourself back down again. But you're choosing not to. And I do believe once you get on the train, it's hard to shut it down, but I believe you had an opportunity if you wanted to, but you chose this instead. And that is brave and bold. And I wanted to acknowledge all of you for your bravery. Truly. So with that said, I hope you can take a moment to also acknowledge yourself for your bravery, and acknowledge yourself for your courage, and acknowledge one another for that, because we are doing sacred work. Our goal for today is to talk about this mountain metaphor that I use. I love the mountain metaphor. And the reason is because there are just so many places we can go with it. And the way I look at the mountain is that you are your own mountain. Okay. Now you do have mountains around you. You're not this one soul mountain. There are mountains everywhere, but you are your own mountain. One of the things I like about the mountain metaphor is it implies movement. You have to be moving on your mountain to get places. You're moving through life. You're moving energy. You're moving emotions. It's not stuck. It's this idea that life is always changing. If there's one thing you can count on, is that life is changing, like it or not. But you can be happy as can be and then sad the next moment. It's amazing how much our energy and our emotions are always changing. The other thing I love about the idea of the mountain metaphor is that I see us going on a search and rescue mission. So we're exploring our mountain to find trailheads. Those trailheads point us to parts of ourselves, and we go and reclaim those parts. And we have this idea of no part left behind, like that you would say no man left behind. Well, we're saying no part left behind. We're willing to take those trailheads, go on the trails and find those parts and integrate them into wholeness. The other thing I like about the mountain metaphor is that it invites us to rise up to the top of our mountain, to step in as our inner parent, to expand, widen, and elevate our view, to have greater perspective and expanded awareness and higher consciousness. And then ultimately, if you really want to think about this from a spiritual perspective, it's the ultimate idea of being the witness to our lives, being the seer, the witness, the observer, the one that no longer is sucked into all the stuff every single day, right? I guess you might say enlightenment. Trailheads, I think of as awareness. Okay, trailheads are any discomfort or pain, repeating patterns, addictions, fixed beliefs, all these things. Anything that you wish would go away, stop, you want to change it, it's probably an indicator that there's a trailhead there. And the trailhead is the moment of awareness, right? So you're doing it, you're in life. Oh, he's annoying. This is happening. Why is it happening to me? I can't believe it. Oh, I should do this better. You should be doing this better, whatever. The moment that you become aware, now you found a trailhead. Okay. They represent that aha moment. Oh, right. Oh, right. This is a chance for me to learn something about myself. Okay. Oh, good. Trailheads are like a signpost and they're pointing us in the right direction toward part of us. Usually some either wounded part of us, an exiled part of us, something that's ready to be explored. I want you to think about it like this. Your ego so lovingly protected you by compartmentalizing and walling off those parts of you. Because honestly, if your ego defense mechanism didn't do that, if your inner protector didn't do that, you would not have been able to survive. You had to do it. You couldn't have handled all those things that happened to you that you wouldn't have been able to make sense of as a child. But now you've got this inner protector that also is the key. I like to say it's like a little creature that's like, I hid all those parts. Like, okay, fine. I'll show you where I put them. Like, okay, I'll show you. Like, let me guide you here. Let me guide you there. And I'll show you this one. It's like your Sherpa on the trail, right? Like it's your Sherpa guiding you. It's amazing. I honestly can't believe that we were made so perfectly, that this is how our brain works. I love this quote by Jacob Norby, and it's every pain, addiction, anguish, longing, depression, anger, or fear is an orphan part of us seeking joy, some disowned shadow wanting to return to the light and home to ourselves. And I don't include these quotes because I think you should go follow Jacob. I don't even know who he is, to be honest with you, but it's just to say, this isn't made up stuff. This is like stuff that's been studied forever. Eastern religions and psychology, Freudian psychology, Jungian psychology. And this is not me inventing something. I'm just turning it into something that I feel is a little more accessible, perhaps, and walks you through a step-by-step process. So let's talk about the inner parent or the adult self. That's a big piece of this step because we're talking about cultivating inner safety. And we're exploring this mountain metaphor. And I want you to think about the mountain metaphors like you are coming to the top of your mountain as your adult self. Okay. But what's really important to note is that if we don't delineate between an inner child, an inner protector, and an inner adult, we're not going to know where we're acting from. We're going to be maybe having a big reaction to something, and we're just going to think it's us. Having a differentiation between the inner child, the inner protector, and our inner adult allows us to be able to say, who's showing up right now? Is it my inner child? Is it my inner protector? Or am I acting from my inner adult? And then we get to be intentional about saying, oh, I see it's my inner protector. Okay, no judgments. No harm, no foul, just, oh, look at that. Like from a more objective place, like, oh yeah, I'm having a reaction right now. I feel defensive. Okay. And who is identifying that we feel that way? It's this inner adult, and it's some other part of you that's able to witness what's going on. When we do the dialogue quadrant coming up, what's going to happen is we're going to start to use a quadrant to be able to identify the inner child, the inner protector, what they have to say, the high self, the soul, and the inner adult. And I want you to think about it like this. The high self, the soul, they're going to have this very high viewpoint. They're going to be able to see all kinds of perspectives. And the inner protector is going to be like, I'm protecting us. Survival, safety, and the inner child might be having a lot of feelings, might be having some sadness, or maybe they're wishing we could play or whatever your inner child is saying. And the inner adult basically comes in, is like, all right, everybody, I've heard you all. I hear everybody, but here's what we're going to do. I want to soothe you, the inner child. I want to calm down the ego. I want to hear what the big vision is, but we're going to now walk forward this way with my adult wise self. Okay. It's like a parent of multiple children. We get to hear everybody, but we're the one that decides what we're going to do. I used to say this to my kids all the time, that you guys each have your say, but you don't always get your way. Now, I believe that knowing these different parts exist and knowing that we have an inner adult, but that sometimes our inner adult gets a little hijacked by our inner protector and our inner child, knowing that allows us to really truly stand in our power, to be more in choice. Now, if I were to take liberties here, I would say that the adult self, and I've said this before, but the adult self is the prefrontal cortex. It's the most evolved part of our brain. It's the one that stays in present time and is capable of looking at long-term consequences, objectively evaluating reality, making good decisions, and being the person who can be the parent to reparent our inner child. The inner protector and the inner child are like short-term, right now, don't disrupt things. Maybe not even the inner child as much, but the inner protector who is also young. So if we don't know that we have all these parts, then everyone's just acting on autopilot. Oh, like I have big feelings and we move in that direction. And then, oh no, I'm angry and I'm defensive. Oh, we move in that direction. And we're just being a victim to all of our feelings, our outside circumstances, our reactions. Well, when we have an inner adult and we're aware of that and we know that we're capable of making other choices, we're capable of holding our inner child and our inner protector, listening to them, honoring that they have very important things to say, giving them a voice, but without it consuming us because we are standing in our inner adult. That's what we're looking to do. I know that we don't always do this, but if you think about parenting, when your child is dysregulated and having a tantrum, and then you start having a tantrum with them, that's not helpful for anybody. But when you can stand in your adult and say, oh, look at them, they're having a hard time right now. Let me see if I can just be with them. I can acknowledge, oh, you're feeling a lot of feelings right now. Oh, you're really angry right now. I can feel it. You're so defensive right now. Whatever it is that you're acknowledging with them, you do the same to yourself. You become the one that can hold space for your experience. There's a lesson in here. It's almost like a meditation about when you feel over-identified with your inner child. One of the things that's really common that I hear from people is this idea that, but who holds me? I'm the adult. And you'll hear me talk about this throughout because it's really, really hard for people because they're like, I don't know how to hold my inner child, or I want to be held. Me, adult me, wants to be held. I want you to know, I know this is hard to believe, but it is really true that the building of the connection of you and your inner child, that is when you will start to feel that you are held. You think you want something outside of you. You think you need a savior. You think you need to be held by somebody, but that's really your inner child talking. And when you can summon your inner adult to tend to your inner child, and I'm telling you, your inner protector is going to be compelling because she's going to be like, no, we need that person to give us love. We need that person to tell us that we're okay. We need that person to do the right thing right now. No, actually, no. I mean, maybe, but your inner adult is the one that has to assess the situation. It might be that you need to get the heck out of that situation. It might be that you need to set a boundary. It might mean that you need to get rest. I mean, all kinds of things that might be possible. But when you have an inner child who is upset and your inner protector is trying to save her by looking externally for something to change out there, you have been hijacked and you need to find your inner adult. And I'm going to tell you, your inner protector is going to be like, no, not this time. No, all we need is somebody else to make us feel better, to soothe us, to tell us that we're okay. No, you need your inner adult. It's just hard to find her. So here's the question. How do we feel held when we are in that desperate time? We have to tap into something bigger than us. Tap into that which breathes you. Who breathes you? Is it your soul? Is it life force? Is it God? Is it the universe? Is it Mother Earth? tap into something bigger than you. I want you to think about it like this. Your human self, you're always going to be having stuff come up. The human condition is that things keep happening. So your human being, sometimes it's going to struggle. That's true. That's okay. But your divinity holds your humanity. Your divinity holds your humanity. So that means that there's something bigger holding you. You are bigger than your human experience. When we get over-identified with our human experience, that's when we suffer. We believe that we are alone, separate, because, by the way, that is what your inner protector, your ego defense mechanism is here doing, keeping you safe at all costs. But safety, that's a low bar. Safety is a very low bar. Let's reach for thriving. Let's reach for connection. Let's reach for love and joy, pleasure. Let's reach higher. But if we want to reach higher, we're going to have to recognize we are more than our human body and our human being. We are more than our ego defense mechanisms. We are more than our ego. We are so much more. We are so expansive. And so we must tap into the reality that our divinity holds our humanity whenever we are in those times. Some people will say that we're spiritual beings having a human experience. It doesn't matter which way you go. We can go either way. Either way is wonderful. Neither is to be negated. You came here to be a human being. Let's not minimize that that is a beautiful, amazing experience. But also let's not forget that you are more than your human being. And let's make sure that we recognize that we are a part of a bigger plan. We are. So our inner adult is like a link, okay? And maybe you'll find ways that you can summon your inner adult. But usually what happens is that the inner protector is pretty compelling and like, we are really a victim. And this is really a problem and things really need to change. And I want you to say to your inner protector, that may be true. I'm not denying that possibility. But let's bring the inner adult in to help us out here, because she might be able to see things a little more clearly. The only reason why the inner protector comes up is almost always because the inner adult hasn't come online. In some way, we've been hijacked. And so we have to find our inner adult and bring her back. And again, I'm going to use the terms inner adult and inner parent interchangeably, but I want to say one thing about inner parent. You may find that other people use the term inner parent in a different way, because what they will talk about is the internalized inner parent, which means the internalized voice of your parents became your inner parent. That exists too. That's your negative self-talk. That's your drill sergeant, your inner critic, right? It's usually whatever voice you use toward yourself was something that you internalized from other people. Again, your parents may have been, I don't know, your parents may have been in any way, right? They could have been loving and kind. It might have been a teacher that you internalize a message. It could have been a sibling, but it's this idea that we internalize some messages from people. It could have been that you don't remember what it was like as a child, and that you only remember the times when your parents were loving and kind to you, but they also had many times where they weren't. At the end of the day, however you talk to yourself, this is some internalized way that you came up with that you are supposed to treat yourself. So you may see that out there in the world. I like to come from a much more positive perspective, which is the potential that you have to become the inner parent that you always needed and longed for. And that is what the inner parent piece of this is. You stepping in to pick up where your parents left off and to parent yourself the way that you needed most when you were a little girl. So I don't want to discount that there's another definition out there of this internalized inner parent. That is a very valid explanation, but it is different than what we are talking about here. This other definition I included here because I loved when I learned this, which is the concept of individuate. So to me, individuation was a separation And it is like the common definition is a process of becoming an individual, the separation, for example, from our parents. But there's more to it. It's actually the union of opposites within us. It's actually to become one. When you are not individuated, you are probably enmeshed. It means you are trying to have another person complete you. You are not whole. So the process that we make the unconscious conscious and putting us into the driver's seat and not having fragments of ourselves outside of us and hidden inside of us is actually the concept of becoming one, from this concept of an integrated psyche. Most of us have a psyche that is incredibly fragmented, and that because we have stuff cut off into our unconscious mind. At your soul level, you are whole. Together, we are reclaiming the parts of you that you put aside in order to be a good girl, to fit in, to be acceptable, etc. All the parts of you that you're afraid aren't enough, too much, are unlovable, are unacceptable, or otherwise cause you pain. Your masks, armor, coping strategies, worries, fears, pain, bad behaviors are all just part of you. They are not you. Your soul holds it all. So you see what I mean? They're just parts of you, but they're not you. Your soul is always available. Your true self is always available. Underneath the conditioning, beliefs, limitations, masks, armor, there you are, always. While it's not easy to find ourselves, it's important to know that you are there. You are much bigger, much more expansive than your ego would have you believe. You have potential beyond what your ego can conceive of. And that's why we start with the ego. We start with stepping into the role of the wise adult, loving parent so that our ego can rest. We build trust. We help her to believe that we can take on the role of the protector in a mature way. As our ego rests, we can step more fully and boldly into all that we are. So together, what we're doing is we're healing to our potential. We're remembering our wholeness together. So remember, you are whole, you are important, and you are a necessary piece in the universe's puzzle. And at times you may forget, but you are. And this, I want you to take that in. And I want you to look at this image and see that you have this will. This is your center line. This is the thing that gets you up and does stuff, motivates you. It's actually like your life force that connects you, earth to the divine. You are held always. So if there's ever a moment where you feel like you're all alone in this world, because some of my clients will say to me, well, I stepped in as my inner adult. Man, my inner adult's mad. My inner adult's sad. My inner adult's this. I'm like, well, then be held by your soul. Be held by divine source. Be held at any level that you need to be held, because you're never alone. Be held by Mother Earth. Whatever it is that will hold you, tap into that next available layer, if you will, because you are always being held. I listened to a meditation the other day, and it was this idea you are held in the womb of God. Whatever metaphor you need to use for you, you're not alone. It just feels like you're alone sometimes because you get so into the human experience, which is the experience of separation. The ego is the experience of separation. The more you're in ego, the more alone you're going to feel. But you can always tap into something more. And that is the beauty of the mountain metaphor, because the idea is that you keep on going beyond. You say, no, I am not going to get stuck in the weeds. I'm going to move up. So we're going to explore our personal mountains. All of these trails are going to lead to parts and holes. And we're going to go into the dark, shadowy sides, and we're going to go to the bright, sunny sides. You know, if you're hiking on a mountain, at some point, you're probably going to end up on the shadowy side of the mountain. Your mountain's neutral. Your mountain doesn't care if it's shadowy or if it's sunny. It's just all of it. You get to go into all parts of it. So one thing when I think about the mountain metaphor is also that we often get tricked into exploring other people's mountains in order to avoid ours. So whenever you've got your binoculars on and you're like, look at what they're doing over there. Like, they shouldn't be doing that. You know, you could go, oh, okay, that's clearly a trailhead. Thank you for that one. I needed that mirror. So we get tricked into it all the time because it's just so much easier to put the binoculars on, looking at somebody else and being like, you are doing that, or that's happening over there. And we want to come back to our mountain and to remember that we benefit from going to this higher vantage point, from getting greater perspective, stepping in as our highest self or our parent self, and getting out of the weeds, knowing that we can hold all of us and that we can see more clearly when we do this. Hey there, Deb here. Just one quick interruption. If you've been diving into the Whole Soul Way round 1, the foundation and core lessons, and you're finding that it's really resonating with you, that is amazing. Now, some of you will get so much out of this free content, and that will be enough. But if you ever feel called to take it deeper, or you think you'd like a little bit more support, just know that there is a whole journey waiting for you inside our full program. Joining the full Whole Soul Way container means that you'll be part of a community, not just any community, a community of people who are incredibly committed to their journey, who are engaged, empathetic, and so inspiring. And this community and my leadership means that you get more support and contextualization to your own life. Also, you'll have access to rounds 2 and 3 and future rounds that I create, where we take what you've learned in the foundations and then practice applying it to the nuance of our lives. We experience deeper embodiment of the healing, and it really allows us to step more fully into this way of living. This is really where the deeper transformation unfolds, when you have the support you need, community, in a container that's really sacred and safe. So if this is speaking to you, I definitely would say check out the full program and see if and how we can support your growth on an even deeper level. You can check it out at thewholesoulway.com/program. Okay, let's get back to it. I wanted to talk about the different ways that we are looking at a mountain metaphor here, different ways that you can think of your mountain. In Step 1, I introduced Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But when I look at this, I look at it as that this is really the mountain we're climbing, right? Most of us have our physiological needs met and our safety needs met. And now we're in the spaces of love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. And really, a lot of this is self-actualization. And as we fulfill these lower needs, we're able to self-actualize and be our more true selves. So I just wanted you to see another pyramid description or metaphor for what we're doing here. I also came up with something that I think is a little bit interesting and maybe odd, and we'll have to see what you have to say about it. But I was listening to a course on relationships and relationship skills. And one of the things that came up was this concept of the sound relationship house, which is from the Gottman Institute. I don't actually have a relationship with the Gottman Institute. I am giving them credit here for this, but they have something called the Sound Relationship House. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, that is really what we need to be doing inside of us. Like, yes, this is great for relationships, and this is really beautiful to be in a relationship with other people, and that we have pillars of trust and commitment on either side, and that we are building this sound relationship house by knowing each other, sharing fondness and admiration, turning towards instead of away, having a positive perspective, managing conflict, making your dreams come true, and creating shared meaning. But I want us to do something very similar to that, but internally. I want you to think about this like this. We're building your safe, sound soul nest. So I want you to think about that you've got this nest here, and in there are your inner children and their protector parts, which are their shells. Okay. And the first thing we're doing is we're starting to get to know ourselves. We are building our own internal love map. We're getting to know, who are we? How do we react? What are the situations that we're dealing with? And I would reorder this a little bit and say we're learning how to turn toward ourselves instead of away from ourselves. And we are stepping in as this inner adult, which I like to think the mama bird is our inner adult, and she is sharing fondness and admiration and reconciling the stuff that's inside of us, the perspectives that we have that maybe aren't serving us, and helping us to shift our perspectives, to deal with conflict, like the conflict that we feel internally, but the conflict we're also experiencing outside in the world. And mama bird helping us to do this, and helping us to make our dreams come true, and to create mutually fulfilling relationships where we have the ability to have shared meaning with ourselves, with others, and with the world. So picture you are the mama bird, and you're coming in caring for your baby, and cultivating in those baby birds, in your inner child parts, including your protector parts, this sense of trust and safety and love from inside. And then when she feels this sense that she's cultivated this inside, you're now integrated, mama, baby, shells, everything's all in the nest in this safe way. Eventually, then we can fly free. Every one of those parts can be free without having to be rigid or unconscious, I guess I would say. And so every conscious part of you becomes free. But you're also always being held. Okay. So yes, mama needs to go out there and go get the food and get all the things to fulfill the basic needs, and then to make sure that the babies stay safe, and she's being the one that protects them. They don't have to have the shell anymore. They can come out of the shell and they can be free. All of that stuff's important, but mama needs to be supported too. Now, mama first was supported by her own nest with her mama taking care of her, but now mama's got the support of this tree and this beautiful nest, and the tree is strong, and the tree is supported by Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is supported by the universe, and so on and so forth. And so when you get to the places at times where you wonder, well, what about me? What about my adult me? I need to be taken care of. Who's taking care of me? I'm fine. I'm supposed to take care of my inner child, but I feel like I'm barely hanging on. And I want you to remember to tap into this more expansive you, the more interconnected you. Think about the bird who flies above everything, and she sees the highest perspective. She is connected. She's soaring through the air, connected to source, connected to all that is, free. She also can land and be supported by earth. She's supported by the rhythms. She probably appreciates her interconnectedness in a way that we human beings don't. And so there's a way that I want you to recognize that you are building your safe, sound soul nest by stepping in as your inner adult and being the leader of your nest, of your little eggs with their shells and your inner child parts inside of them. And she's helping to create the type of space so that they feel safe to be in the world without their shells and to be able to fly free with her. They don't have to leave. This isn't about abandonment here. This is about integration, and that we are all supported as well. So Mama Bird is supporting them, but Mama is supported too by wind, by earth, by the universe, by her interconnectedness with all other birds and all other beings. All right. What's our mission? Our mission is search and rescue. Okay, that's our mission. And to remember, our soul way GPS is our own soul way GPS. Okay, it's unique to you. It's showing you your way along the journey. The soul's invitation every time we find a trailhead is to turn toward ourselves, right? To go inside. And then I want you to remember, you're already all of you. Even the like douchey parts of yourself, you're already that. It's there. Okay, it's just coming into acceptance that it's there, instead of denial, right? So we remember all of who we are, but we also remember the parts of ourselves where right now we don't think we're worthy or good enough. We remember our good enoughness. We remember so much of who we are. We remember our gifts and our light, all the ways that you've been told not to be arrogant and tell anybody how smart you are. Like you start to go, wait a second, I am kind of smart. I am kind of funny. Like I am actually pretty awesome. It's a remembering process. We're remembering all of who you are. We're reclaiming. It's a recollection process. We accept these parts, bringing them forward, and then we integrate into wholeness. I'm in a group where I have a coach, and it's a group of women. And the biggest compliment that I ever got, I think, was when my coach said to me, I experience you as one of the most integrated beings that I've met. It gets me teary to even think it. It's not that I necessarily think I am, but to have him reflect that for me, being integrated, to me, it's like the highest compliment, that I'm whole and that I've come into acceptance of even the darkness inside of me, you know? But I want to remind you this, it is your choice. If you go hiking, you think about what trail you're going to go on before. You're like, I only have an hour. I cannot go on that trail that's going to bring me all the way around the whole mountain right now. Or no, I don't feel like rock climbing today. So no, I'm not going to go on that trail. You get to choose. And I promise you, if you're not up for the challenge for that trailhead right now, it will come back again, especially if it's meant for you. So no worries. You get to choose if you're not up for it. If your capacity is lower, you're really tired, don't go for the hardest one. Don't go on that hardest trek. Do what is going to be best for you and nourish yourself and bring water and take care of yourself along the journey. And it's your own unique journey. So yes, when I go hiking with somebody, it is true that I do sometimes go on a trail that a friend tells me to go on. But in this case, you don't. You go on only the trails that are your trails. An example that I give with this is like sometimes on social media, I'll be on Instagram scrolling and then there'll be something that catches my attention. And I'll be like, oh, I should do that too, like some personal growth thing. But I'm like, it's not really up for me right then. No, I need to use my inner compass, my inner guidance system. If it doesn't resonate with you, don't do it. Follow your own trailheads. That's the beauty. It streamlines your personal growth journey so much more to take cues from yourself rather than taking cues from the outside world. What are we looking to reclaim in this process? I'm not going to go through every one of these things, but I want you to know, yes, we're reclaiming our parts. We're reclaiming also our needs, our suppressed needs, our grief that we never metabolized because we never had a chance. We're claiming our protective instincts. We're reclaiming our free mind. That's our mind, your own beliefs, not the beliefs that were imprinted upon you, but clear minds being able to say, what do I think about this situation? What do I believe? Our feelings and sensations that we had to wall off from and numb. Any feelings and fears that we didn't actually attend to, sensitivities that were steamrolled. We're bringing our purpose and our soul path, and we're reclaiming God-given gifts to ourselves, our truth, our voice, our strength, our confidence, our worth, our awareness of our worth. And until we do make the unconscious conscious, which is all these things, it's going to direct your life and you will call it fate. So often we live our lives and we're like, oh, like I don't deserve this. Why does this keep happening to me? And it's because our unconscious minds are running us. So our unconscious fears run the show and we're trying to get away from them running the show. So what do? We bring that part home. Okay. Once we find a part, and that's what we do through inquiry, through journaling, through all this other work that we're doing. We bring it in and it starts to provide relief and wholeness because that empty, yucky feeling, that disconnection from ourselves, it requires us to come into wholeness to get there. We go from empty to full, from disconnected to connected, fragmented to integrated, from wholes to whole. Most of us live the whole way, which is with holes. And we're now moving to the whole soul way, which is wholeness. And that is the work. We start to experience fewer triggers. And even when we are triggered, we have more self-control. We can come back to find ourselves. We experience less stress, suffering, and pain. We have a greater capacity to show up more fully and courageously. And we do come to live as the whole soul you. I do not want you to think this is some linear path. You're going up your mountain and you're going to stay up there and you're going to get there. No, it's the spiral of healing, which you could be all the way at the top of your mountain. Something happens and boom, you're like back down at the bottom of your mountain again. And it's a combination of in any given moment, you can be anywhere on this process. And also the more work we do, the more we do reside at higher levels of consciousness. So it's moment to moment and you are also growing yourself up. It's the same with inner child work. You're reparenting yourself moment to moment, but you're also growing yourself up. You are actually evolving. It's like two layers of work. You're doing the spiral of healing in the moment, and then that is causing you to rise up. Same thing on your mountain. I want you to think about when you're in the middle of a problem, okay? And you've got a problem going on in your life and it's a dilemma that you're struggling with. Usually we're down in the bottom. We're looking at it. We have no perspective. We're all alone. We're in the weeds and we're like, I have no idea what to do. But then let's just say that you were actually at the forest floor and you're like, where do I go? What do I do? I'm lost. But if you just went down that path a little bit and went up the rocks, you got up a little higher, you're able to look and go, oh my God, if I go right over there, there's actually a town right there. So we have to be willing to rise up sometimes and be like, wait a second, what am I not seeing here? And we get to see with greater perspective. We maybe rise up again and we start to see, oh, I see why that person did that. They're having this problem over there. That wasn't personal at all. Oh, we rise up again. We're like, oh, what I'm feeling isn't necessarily a fact. Maybe I feel something else in addition to how I feel. Then, maybe life is happening exactly as it should be. I thought that I shouldn't have gotten fired, but actually because I got fired, I got to start my own business and now I'm so happy. I never would have been so happy if I hadn't done that. And then we rise up again, seeing the bigger plan, the whole big plan. So I say this not because this is available to every one of us every moment, but this is what we're doing. In addition to that, though, in every single moment, we have the ability to rise up to the top of our own personal mountain and see things from a different point of view, step in as our adult self, step in to be able to see what's going on. Who am I? What am I going through right now? To step outside of ourselves almost to be the witness of our experience. When you talk about meditation and witness your thoughts, don't become your thoughts. Don't allow your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings to be you. Witness them. Allow them to float by like clouds. Don't attach to anything. That's the idea here. How do you rise up and say, wait, if I wanted to look objectively at my life, I see my inner protector. She's really, really freaking out right now. Oh, my inner child. She's so sad. You also have each inner protector, inner child has many, many parts. Oh, look at the part of me who feels so insecure right now. Oh, come here, honey. Come get on my lap. Come on over here. I can hold all of that. So it's rising up, and it's not just seeing things from this higher vantage point and greater perspective, but it's also being with yourself from that point of view. So often when we do inner child work, we never separate ourselves into the adult. And so we're trying to parent our inner child from nothingness. When you intentionally step in as the inner adult, you can actually see, oh, I can see a little separation between I am here and I can be the parent to these parts of me. So I would leave it there with this. And as you do this work, you can start to also witness yourself on your whole life's path. You might be able to see more meaning in your life. Oh, I do see how I did have this happen in my childhood. And boy, or we start to give ourselves more credit for like what we've accomplished. So many people that I know have grown so much and they can never give themselves any credit for their growth because they're always looking to get to some pinnacle moment of joy instead of seeing, wow, look at me. I have so much more access to my feelings, or wow, look at me. I can articulate my experience better. Oh, look at me. I don't get as triggered by that thing anymore. We have to give ourselves credit for the things that we've achieved. We increase our capacity. Our nervous systems become more regulated, which we're going to talk about a lot more. We start to be able to cognitively reframe things. Oh, wow. What's the lovely story in this situation? We start to understand other people better, have more compassion, maybe stop being as controlling. It's a hard one. And we start to see things more clearly. And one of the things that has shifted from me is to move away from the idea that life is happening to me to life is happening for me. Now, I want to say that cautiously because one of the most important things that I did was go through a process where I had to acknowledge my true victimhood. Because all of us have been victims of things where we were powerless and we were truly victims. And sometimes we gloss over that because we take this message as life is happening for me. Like, so I had to get sexually abused so that I could learn that lesson. I was sexually abused and I had to go through the process of acknowledging I was a victim. No, no, that wasn't something that was good for my growth, but I am making the most of it and growing from it. But in present day, life is happening for you in many, many situations to help you to grow, even sometimes really shitty things. We also can see that we're part of the bigger solution to our problems and to the world's problems, that we're not as powerless as we think. It doesn't mean that we're going to go out there and fix the big problems, but we can do what we can do. We can do our own work. And we get to also see more clearly what our life looks like, what our dreams are, what our soul's path is, and the possibilities and the potential that we often can't see when we stay stuck in the problem at the weeds level. I had a coach who used to guide me to be the hawk all the time. Okay, so go up and be a hawk. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't see anything. He's like, okay, go up higher, go up higher, go over there, go over there. So whatever works for you, top of the mountain, hawk, whatever it is for you, your highest self. Some people like to do future self. Any of those things, none of this is fixed. You find what works for you. I'm giving you a metaphor. You can work with whatever metaphors work for you. This is consciousness expanding. We do literally expand our capacity. We rise up, we get deeper. It's all of that, right? If you pictured yourself tightly wound right here, you're just keeping expanding into more and more of all of who you are. I'm going to share a couple of these with you. I'm not going to go through all of them, but they're in your workbook. With greater perspective, we begin to see things like if your kids are yelling at another and you react at your kids with rage, there might be something underneath that, like an unhealed part of you, where as a child you experienced or witnessed too much anger that overloaded you. You were unable to cope with it and you weren't allowed to show your anger. So this is you now having a hard time handling that anger and knowing what to do with it. And so then we go, oh, well, maybe there's something I could work on around my anger and understanding that better with greater perspective. Like when your husband's upset and you find yourself checked out or dazed, it might be that there's an unhealed part of you that never learned how to support people in difficult situations because no one ever supported you and listened to you in the ways you needed. Maybe you're struggling to keep your house clean and judging yourself for being lazy and incapable, but this is actually a part of you who had maybe too much pressure from a parent to do it right when you weren't even capable of doing it. And so you felt like you weren't good enough. And then you just kind of checked out. You chose to go the lazy route. And now you're like, wait a second, what if I learned what my own standards are? What if I set my own expectations for myself based on maybe I don't have to live up to those standards? You can go through the rest of them. Even in your brain, we're evolving. We're moving from lower levels to higher levels. We're moving from back here up into a prefrontal cortex, from the primitive brain to a more evolved brain, from the brain that reacts based on fear, instincts, and survival to a brain that sees the bigger picture, has greater perspective, and is more conscious. We're evolving, not just emotionally, but we're evolving literally in our brain. It's very cool. And then this is my framework. And this is going to be a great segue into next time when we talk about the soul way GPS. We start off at the bottom of our mountain, starting to say, I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to start to turn inward. And then we rise up our own personal pyramid here, mountain, where we then create inner safety and strength by parenting ourselves, picking up where our parents left off. And then we start to take courageous action in the world. I'm seeing you like taking action, being more brave and doing it. And that's part of this journey, is starting to take courageous action, feeling more confident to show up as our true selves, and ultimately to flow and ease with your soul as your true guide, and living and loving as the whole soul you. And by doing this, we shift from feeling less self-acceptance, more pressure, more fear, up to more self-control and confidence, more authentically expressed, more emotionally available, more soul-led. Okay, well, that's a wrap on that steps foundational lesson. Let's just pause for a moment though, because this next part matters more than you might realize. You've just absorbed some powerful lessons, and I know how tempting it is to just hit next and keep learning, to gather more knowledge and more insights and more understanding. I know that feeling, but here's the truth. I've learned in my own experience and after years walking alongside many people on this journey, wisdom without action is just information. And information alone doesn't change our lives. Think of it like this. You wouldn't go to the gym, watch someone else lift weights and expect to get stronger. The transformation happens when you pick up the weight. These exercises, well, they're your weights. They're where the real work and the real magic happens. So here's what I'm inviting you to do next. If you haven't already, go download the exercises workbook at thewholesoulway.com/workbooks. You'll notice that there are 2 workbooks available for each step, one with the lesson content and one specifically for exercises. Make sure you grab the exercises workbook because that's where the inner work part of this lives. And here's something else important for you to know. Some of the exercises, they only appear in the workbook, and some of them only appear on audio or video, and that's why you need both. And for those of you who like guided experiences, I've also created some supporting meditations on Insight Timer. You can go to insighttimer.com/Deb Blum. Sometimes we need that gentle voice guiding us deeper, and I'm really excited that these meditations are now on Insight Timer for you as well. Now, I want to remind you of something I shared in the Why the Whole Soul Way episode, and that is about the universal law of fair exchange. This program is free, and I've made it that way intentionally because I believe everyone should have access to what I'm teaching. But energy still needs to be balanced so we don't sabotage our own potential for transformation. One of the most powerful ways that you can honor this exchange is by actually doing the exercises, by truly showing up for yourself, and by doing the inner work. That's the exchange. I give you the lessons, the tools, and the exercises, and you do the work. And that's how we keep this energy flowing. That's how we honor what we're creating together. And if you feel called, another beautiful way that you can balance this energy is to share it with somebody else that you feel could benefit from it. And I would love it if you would rate and review the podcast or like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. This is the way that we can create ripples of transformation together. One awakened soul inspiring another. So before you go, remember that the next section includes both additional lessons that will help round out the foundational lesson and those transformational exercises. So go do them now while your heart is open and your commitment is fresh. Your transformation is waiting for you, not only in the next lesson, but in the work that you're about to do. So, as you do the exercises, I would love to hear from you. Feel free to leave a comment on what you've learned or what your experience is like. Okay, I'll see you in the exercises.